Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another session of Franchising with Absa. Our guest today is James Noble, who is the head of wholesale, retail, and franchising at Absa Bank. James is responsible for the development and implementation of Absa's wholesale, retail, and franchise strategy, creating a center of excellence for internal as well as external industry stakeholders. In James's previous position, he was the business development manager for the fuel industry at Absa. He has been involved in the franchise and fuel retail industry since 1997, developing sales growth strategies and solutions for the industry from the banking perspective. So hello, James, and thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Romani, and thank you very much for having me, and also welcome to all the listeners.
So today we're going to be discussing the current economic climate. We're going to be looking at future trends. So what I'd like to do is ask everybody to please hit the like and share button. Share this with someone who you will find this useful. Perhaps somebody in your family, your friends is looking to buy a business, or maybe they're looking to start a business. So this kind of discussion and conversation could be helpful to them to understand perhaps future trends and the current economy. So please hit the like and share button, and let's get started chatting with James. So I'm getting the sense that, while we're in an economic crisis, we've also been downgraded just before COVID hit. So yes, times are tough. People are not spending their money in certain next sectors, but there will always be businesses that thrive. So, as the saying goes, that in the past, we've also seen this over time, that in a crisis, there are lots of opportunities. So it really is a case of whether you're willing to explore those opportunities, be open to what is out there. So what are your perception, or what are your thoughts in terms of future trends, opportunities that people can engage in, say, over the next time period that could possibly prevent them from going bankrupt, so to speak, or not being in business?
Yeah, I think, and that's one of the positive outcomes of COVID, is this, let's call it, digital transformation that we've gone through. Everyone is now onto the digital bandwagon. We look at the change in banking in terms of payment options. We've actually seen that the reduction in cash being used as a payment option, and more people opting for card, your tap and go. I've recently seen that they've also increased the limits on tap and go from, I think it was from 200 to 500 Rand, because it's so convenient way of paying, and also obviously avoiding that contact and maybe standing that chance of picking up COVID or not. I think especially from a digital perspective, and I just take Absa as well, if I look at things that we were studying in terms of online trading that started happening, people making use of online platforms to purchase even their groceries, a lot of their grocery brands launching their delivery services where you can order your groceries online, and that movement happening. So I think from that perspective, there's a lot of opportunity. And if I still look at, say, for instance, the subsector like the restaurant industry, there's still a lot of them not making use of delivery services. I think there's a big opportunity for courier companies or delivery service type companies to come to the front. I've had a chat with a franchisor the other day that advised me that they've got delivery vehicles and scooters, and they're battling to get proper drivers for the scooters and the delivery vehicles. So I think there's a big opportunity from that perspective as well. But yeah, I think out of hardship, that's where normally all the innovation starts happening. And look at the platform that we are engaging on currently. A year ago, we battled to get audiences onto webinars, onto platforms like this, and this has become the new normal. And last year, we've hosted numerous webinars. And if I just look at the attendance right through the year, it was actually very, very, very good. And people hungry for information to see how they can also change their businesses and enhance their business offerings. I also, just one thing that I want to highlight, and I think this is also a differentiator that a lot of businesses should look at, is service delivery. I've noticed that service delivery in general is still very, very poor in South Africa specifically. And I think by just focusing on those small type of things, businesses can also make a big change in their bottom line by properly servicing their customers and providing them with good products and services. And what I've also picked up is that a lot of businesses are looking at loyalty programs in attracting customers and to also retain their customers by locking them in with their various loyalty programs. So I think that's also something that businesses should be looking at, is definitely some sort of loyalty program.
I like some of your suggestions. Yes, especially the migration to digital. And I must say, there was a lot of innovation, especially in the beginning of lockdown. Delivery services up all over the show, especially in my area, for example. And I tell you, it was really great service. It was nice to see small businesses coming up to flourish. I'll compare something where what I noticed, for example, in the UK, my husband couldn't find flour for a period of like a month. There was nothing available. So we were what I feel in South Africa in a better position. I also noticed, because we used to online shop, I mean, online shopping overseas is very normal. It's like second nature, you know what I mean? You don't have to leave your house, you just order everything and it just comes to your door the next day. Whereas during lockdown, I mean, now, it takes 3 weeks for him to actually place an order for a delivery. Whereas with the supermarkets down the road, I can have my groceries within an hour, which I found very, very interesting. And I do agree that there is loads of opportunities for businesses to increase their services, and we're still kind of needing a service like eBay, like the eBays of this world or the Amazons of this world. That still hasn't kind of come to fruition in South Africa.
Yeah, and I think also, and it comes back to the service delivery as well, what I've noticed, and there were some comments about it as well. So a lot of these delivery services happening, but they're not on time. So that if you say that you are delivering at 4 o'clock this afternoon, that you do deliver at 4 o'clock and not maybe 5 or 6 o'clock. Because obviously a lot of people planning their schedules as well. And I think a lot of these online meetings and so forth happening, and you can't just quickly, jump up and go and fetch your delivery at the gate. So I think that timeous delivery is also going to become a game changer if you can get that correct.
I agree with you. That is so true. I had a friend of mine who had a package delivered at her house, and the delivery decided not to show up because they called them to say, oh, well, they couldn't get hold of them. But she's like saying that I was in a meeting, I couldn't just get up and leave my meeting to go and open the door. So the delivery late, and they were early. They weren't even, so if it was, she knew they were coming at a certain time, but, she had planned for that and they decided to come earlier, you know what I mean? So I do agree with you. I see we've got a question that's come in from Makabo. What are new long-term opportunities did COVID, what other new long-term opportunities did COVID create that will remain even after the pandemic?
Yeah, I think we touched on that, and that's when we spoke about the digital transformation. And I even think going forward, like for instance conferences, where before you were limited in terms of having it online. So I think from that perspective, we will see more of those type of things happening, and it's more cost effective to run it on a platform like this. Yeah, and I think then, as we also spoke about the online trading, we obviously at Absa, we've seen the increase year on year with online trading and the impact of that. So I think online trading is definitely going to become much bigger. So the impact of that again is going to be that the retail outlets might become smaller because they're going to need less space, but maybe more warehouse type storage that will be needed, where you can store all the goods that will then be distributed from there. I think I'm just thinking now the black kitchen concept that's starting out as well here in South Africa now, where you might have a couple of brands in one location using the same kitchen to, for instance, deliver a Steers product, a Debonair's product, a Nando's product, and a McDonald's product, and so forth. So, and you ordering, not knowing where the product is coming from, but it's coming from a location where all these stakeholders pull together and obviously save on infrastructure costs and therefore become more profitable. The only negative part of that is with the delivery service, that's an added cost. And obviously that can maybe have an impact on the cost of the product that gets delivered to you. But I think, yeah, those are some of the things that I think that will definitely, beyond COVID, that will continue to develop in South Africa as well.
I also think perhaps working from home is going to be a big change and a big trend that will probably stay much longer. Also possibly people becoming self-employed, because now there's loads of opportunity if people can get access to the internet. There's loads of opportunity and potential for work in the virtual world.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I mean, even at Absa, I know we are busy revisiting all our policies and looking at how we will be working in future. And if I just look at what we delivered over the last, I mean, it's nearly a year that we've been working from home. Personally, I've been to the office for 20 minutes and that was it. And the rest of my work I all delivered here from home. So I think going forward also, it's I don't need to be, and I've got a head office role. So I don't need to sit in Joburg to work for head office anymore. I can sit in Cape Town, Durban, I can sit in Washington, and I can work from there. So I think it's going to open up the employment opportunities as well, where one can sit anywhere and you can work for anyone, yeah, as long as it allows you to do so. I think in the banking world, if you just look at that, if you're a teller, unfortunately, you have to be at the branch. But in our role, it's not necessary to be in the office to actually be productive and do your work. I think we've actually become more productive working from home because there's less distractions. But I think also then you need to look at your work environment from home, because if you have a family, if you have children and you need to do homeschooling and all those type of things, obviously it will have an impact as well. But I just look at, I think the number of meetings happening now versus the number of meetings that was happening before COVID and lockdown, I think it more than doubled. So I think a lot of people also become technology fatigued as well, and I think we need to be careful of that. I think also another trend that we started picking up, just thinking of it now, is the pet care industry, because a lot of people, maybe because they work from home, they're alone, they bought themselves pets, and obviously that has a direct impact on the pet care industry as well. So I think also that's something that will in future definitely have a big impact on the way forward, how things will be after COVID.
I see that Derek is also mentioning that most of the franchisees are in retail, high rentals and overheads to cover, limited number of customers allowed to enter the stores at the that time. The big landlords are not at all flexible with regards to rentals. As far as I'm concerned, the retail sector has no future. The amount of new shopping centers popping up all over the place makes no sense at all. The consumer then runs to the new center to get the customer back and takes ages. There are so many new rules and regulations. So that's just a comment coming in from Derek. Thank you for sharing. Yes, there is that risk. I do see that as well. But then I suppose shopping malls will have to reinvent the game.
Well, I think also just maybe elaborating on that comment as well, and I think this is a opportune time to negotiate with landlords as well. I know there are some of the bigger landlords that's maybe more cash flush, that's resistant to negotiations. But I've come across a lot of business owners that renegotiated the terms and conditions of their lease agreements with the landlords, obviously to save on the operational expenses. Also, latching onto the previous comment about what will remain or what will continue improving going into the future is the rollout of solar technology in South Africa. I think with our current power crisis situation that we're in and the continuous increase of electricity prices is actually starting to become cost effective for residential properties to look at solar. So I think from a franchising perspective, that's a great opportunity to formalize that industry as well. And I know there are a couple of franchises already, but I think there's much more opportunity for solar panel installation type franchise businesses. And I've seen it with a lot of our business customers where they own the property, they install solar. And it's an investment that within a 3 to 5 year period, they recover that cost. And after that period, then it's basically free electricity, if you want to call it so. So I think also that's going to be definitely a big game changer going into the future. And we're going to need the big rollout of solar technology. Because they, not in South Africa yet, but globally, if you look at what's happening in Europe, in China, in the East, and America, or the USA, is the rise of the electric vehicle. And you're going to need solar to charge those vehicles when eventually they hit our shores. And we're going to be forced to do that because all your big motor manufacturers are looking at electric vehicle models, and some of the big manufacturers, Volkswagen, Honda, Toyota, and so forth, they've got big expansion plans for the next 3 to 5 to 7 years, up to 2030, to roll out electric vehicles. I know Volkswagen, for instance, they're talking about selling 2 million electric vehicles by 2028. That's globally. So that's over the next 5 years. So this station type businesses, because we're going to need charging points. So I think that's also something that one needs to look at, is then combining maybe fuel with electric vehicle charging points to start preparing for the rise of the electric vehicle. And it's happening in some other countries in Africa already, where some of their taxi services are run by electric vehicles. So I think it's definitely something that will come to South Africa. We're going to be forced in the end over the next 5 to 10 years.
I see that happening as well. There's a lot of changes coming over in the next 5 to 10 years that it feels like we're moving into a sci-fi movie. You know, and you thought you thought they were make believe. These days.
There you go.
Yeah, so wow, I can't believe how time has flown and we've run out of time. Just one last question. What do you feel are, because you're on the FASA committee member, you're on the committee, and I'd like to know from you, what are your thoughts in terms of why is it beneficial to be a FASA member before we close?
Yeah, I think from a FASA perspective, and FASA is the association looking after ethical franchising in the country. And we know there's over 600 to maybe close to 800 different franchise brands in the country. And they're not all running ethical business practices. And I think from a, let's call it a consumer perspective, so if you are someone looking at buying a franchise, I think it's important to look at whether that franchisor is a member of FASA or not. Because FASA is promoting ethical franchising, and they make sure that all their members are ethical or run ethical business practices. Because I think, yeah, especially in the time that we are now, you already have so many challenges. You don't want to end up buying the wrong franchise and ending up in fighting or continuous legal battles with a franchisor that will also have a negative impact on your business. So I think, especially from an ethical franchising perspective, very important to become a member of FASA and to run your business according to those ethics that the Franchise Association of South Africa is standing for. I know with the Consumer Protection Act and the Competitions Commission, they look after some of the legal things that needs to be covered. But I think, yeah, when it comes to the ethical side, I think it's very important, yeah, that you associate yourself with brands that are members of FASA.
Thank you for sharing. That's great. That's great. So yes, just to remind everyone to please hit the share and like button if you found this discussion informative, especially to family members or friends or people that you know who are interested in buying or looking for business opportunities during these tough times. So I just want to thank you everyone today for watching, and just to remind you that if you need any more information about FASA membership or would like to, we'll be also, if you'd like to get in touch with James about anything to do with funding and retail, you can just pop you have popped his link in the comment box below where you can get hold of James. And then if you'd like to know anything about the Franchise Association of South Africa, you can find them at www.fasa.co.za. And then one more thing, we have an event coming up on the 12th of March if you'd like to attend, starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. We're going to be inviting Moshe Finn of Kitch IP to discuss the Poppy Act, which is very important for you to know, especially if you run a business. It's also important for you to know as a franchisor, and you might want to invite your franchisees to join in on that one, because it's important to understand how to protect data going forward. You could be up for a big fine. And then later on during that day, we'll also be having Christo Bester from LWO Law, who will be chatting with us about employer-employee relationships, especially in the work and home environment and the things that have changed happening during the lockdowns and COVID. So thank you everyone for your time. Thank you for watching, and have a super week further, whatever it is you're doing. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.